Welcome to the Rock Pile Podcast. I'm excited to talk today everything Colgate football, and we'll talk around the Patriot League as well. For the coaches show today, will Colgate head football coach Stan Dakosty. Before I bring Coach on, I want to make sure I thank the sponsors for the show this week. I want to thank the Colgate Inn up on 1 Payne Street out in Hamilton for sponsoring this week's show. Martha's on Madison on 3 Madison Street in Hamilton as well for helping sponsor the coaches show. The MedSpot Aesthetics, Wellness, and Weight Loss on 110 West Thomas Street in Rome. Special thanks to Corey Corbin for helping out. And Good Nature Brewing Company in 1727 New York, Route 12B in Hamilton as well. If you're looking at doing any sponsorships for the show, if you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, you just make sure you put a message on there. You can reach out to me. Be more than happy to help out. But I'm all excited to finally connect with Coach and talk nothing but Colgate football here as they get set to open up here in just over another week. So without further ado, what's happening, Coach?
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
I'm excited. Happy we finally were able to make this thing happen. So look forward to talking to you throughout the fall.
Yeah, no, this is great. You do a lot of great things for Patriot League football. So happy to be on there and good to see that Andy Kerr Stadium backdrop in
Absolutely.
the background there.
So, Coach, I want to start first. Last year, you guys ended the season. You won the last 3 games. You beat a really good Lafayette team, Lehigh, and my alma mater in Fordham. But you guys ended on a good note. How did that carry over into the preseason?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, obviously, you're going to try to capitalize on that momentum. We have a decent amount of guys coming back. We have 7 fifth-years back. It's the most we've had. So, the momentum is definitely felt within the program. Carried over into recruiting in the offseason and then offseason workouts. And I think the general sentiment at the end of the year was, the year before we had a tough stretch, really challenged the program in a lot of ways. And that was like a back against the wall situation. And, you're all in or you're all out situation from a locker room program, everything, all levels of the program. This offseason was a little different, but in my exit meetings with the players after the season, I think the general sentiment was that, this should push them to work even harder because we're that much closer, as opposed to maybe stripping it down and building it up. The foundation's laid, so now it's a matter of taking it and capitalize on it. So our offseason kind of mentality was just humble and hungry, and yeah, we had some good things happen, but as soon as we get complacent, this game will come back and smack you in the mouth a little bit.
Coach, I always talk about your guys' schedule. And, over the years, you guys are one of the only ones. As a matter of fact, I think it might have been last year or the year before. Um, but you guys have played some really big, the FBS schools, let's say that, the bigger schools. And I was looking at some of the past schedules. You've played Stanford, you've played Boston College, Syracuse, Army, Air Force. I know you always play a lot of the Ivy League schools. And this year I see you're playing Akron this year. But there was a couple of years I said, the five non-conference games for Colgate, you guys have a chance to start off in the hole, but then kind of finish strong. Does that scheduling affect you guys at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a challenge. I remember my first year coaching here, 2007, and our first staff meeting in August. Coach Biddle was going around a table and asking, we start slow. Like, why do we start slow? And he actually called on me, and I froze. It was Coach Biddle's he was the man and everything. So I didn't really have much of an answer, but looking back on it, a lot of it was, well, we play really good teams all the time. And my freshman year, I believe we opened up Maine Villanova and or Villanova Maine. I think there's a classic line by Coach Biddle that we weren't going to kick to Brian Westbrook ever, and then we decided to that game, and I think he scored a few touchdowns against us. But there's always been that mindset of play up early, and then obviously try to take care of business within the league, and then if we're fortunate to go past the league and go to the playoffs, you've already seen that national level of competition. But I think so. That's there. The big difference to me right now is our out of conference is always going to be strong, but the league is the strongest it's ever been, I think, in a lot of ways. Like, we've always had those marquee teams that have come to the top, and people have had their runs and stuff like that over the course of the last 20 years or so. And I think the depth of the league is really good right now. So yeah, the out of conference is tough, and but once we get into league play, like there's the high level of competition as well.
Coach, I know for recruits coming in, because you brought in a pretty good sized class this year. I think it was what, did you bring in 30 freshmen?
Yeah, 31. Yeah.
And I know from a recruiting standpoint, playing some of those bigger non-conference, the Boston colleges, the Stanfords, the Syracuse, and even the Ivy League, because Ivy League is good football as well. Does that help you from a recruiting standpoint too?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it gives the 17, 18-year-old kid you're talking to, when they're trying to vision what it looks like here, that they're going to run out in front of, last year 40,000 people on our opening game, whatever it was. So that part's there, and I think it's at the end of the day, like there's no cupcakes. That's what we say, So every week's going to be a challenge, and even this year with our first three, before we get into the Ivy and Patriot League Gauntlet, it's Maine's going to be they're tough every single year. Obviously Villanova's made a nice run last year, and Akron being FBS, so it's one of those. It's something we hang our hat on here. Something our alumni are used to. Like when I was getting recruited here many years ago. My dad is a longtime coach, and he's actually with us this year. But he mentioned watching like Colgate versus Rutgers in the Meadowlands on like Thanksgiving night on ABC or whatever it was. So it's like football has always been a top tier thing here, and competitive nationally. So those that's just the way we work, and so we don't run from that.
Coach, you've been a part of Patriot League championships as a player and coach, and your 2002 team. I was on the Fordham team in 2002, and I believe that's the year you guys won the Patriot League. But you guys have had some really good teams in the past, and you mentioned Coach Biddle. And I think I asked you this a year ago. What was the impact that he left, not only on the program but yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to put into words. I think I said around that time to a few people that if you try to coach like Coach Biddle, you're going to fail because there's only one Dick Biddle, and that's in a lot of ways referring to just his toughness, his demeanor, his mentality, and I mean, there's tough coaches all over the country, but his approach, his unapologetic, he didn't apologize for who he was or how he wanted his team to play, and so you take so much stuff from that, and then kind of try to put your own spin on it. But yeah, I think if you look at our whole history here, like Coach Dunlap, Fred Dunlap, we just had our golf outing last weekend, and he was there, 93 years old, and he's watched practices, and he's around, and our home stands are named Dunlap stands, and our locker rooms Fred's place. So it's like there's eras of Colgate football that have to hold a lot of weight, and Coach Dunlap's was huge, and then Coach Biddle, left his mark was as good as anybody's, and I think, and as a league as well. I mean, what he did, we won it. We won it in '02. You guys actually beat us in '02 early. I think it was like our second game or third game down at your place, and then we ended up. You guys probably tied. We probably shared for the conference that year or something, and because you guys I think you had a really good receiver that Coach Hunt used to tell me we recruited as a running back or as a cornerback. He ended up going to Fordham as a dude at
Yep.
receiver. But we but then that next year in '03 went to the national title game. I mean, that stuff, it's before scholarships, flying down to that game, taking exams on the plane, stuff like that, like different for a lot of the top tier academic schools in the country. So him and having that experience here, and then obviously titles after that. So Coach Biddle he won, and he did it his own way. So he's always remembered, and I walk by his little placard every day before we go on the field, just smack it a couple of times and go do our deal.
Coach, the Patriot League has changed, as you know, from playing in the Patriot League to coaching in it now. And I think back when I played and when we played, I think you would get grants. They didn't have the full scholarship thing. They didn't have all this NIL thing, the transfer portal. And I know the Patriot League is going to be adding some teams as well. And I agree with you. I think top to bottom, I say this all the time, is I think the coaching doesn't get the credit it deserves, because I think top to bottom, I think the Patriot League is as good as it gets. But how has the Patriot League, I guess, evolved over the years?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, once you add the scholarship element to it, there's always like scholarship, but with a little asterisk to it of, we depending on your school, you had, the allotment of 60 or maybe a little less, and now we can get up to 63 if you could as an institution. That's the normal allotment for FCS. So that kind of hopefully evens the playing field. I think at the end of the day, like we're unique. A lot of it's because of our admission standards. The thread and needle to get football players that could play nationally against the best programs in the country, that have the academics to get into our schools. And then obviously whether we're fighting over the same guys or which kids want to come to Colgate, which kids want to come to Central New York. So it's a lot of times it's threading the needle, to find that kid or group of kids to put a team together to play out of conference, against anybody. And I think, so you've seen it happen over the years. You've seen teams do it. Like I said, people have had their different spurts. And I think right now what you see is the league getting a really good handle on how to handle the scholarships within each program. The league, it's a lot of times at our league, like schools, they make a decision. Do you want to be good at football? And you see a lot of schools, leaning towards that direction, and because it matters. I mean, football's when football's rolling on a campus, whether it's Colgate or whatnot, I mean, it's felt in the community in a lot of ways. So I think, like you said, the coaching in our league. We got a lot of great coaches, and some coaches have come and gone on to do great things. So it's interesting. It's kind of a combo of could be a stepping stone or it could be a destination. Depending what you want to get out of this profession. And there's a lot of chaos in college football right now. And I say to people a lot, we've kind of carved out what's pure about college football. Recruit, retain, develop, and graduate. And I think that says a lot for the league as a whole.
Coach, you guys were picked fourth in the Patriot League. I actually picked you guys third because I think Lafayette, obviously, what they returned from a year ago. But again, I'm looking through the Patriot League this season, and I see obviously the season Lafayette had. I think Coach Troxell's done a great job there. But then you see what Holy Cross has done. Coach Chesney leaves to go to JMU. You got Coach Conlon, who's done a good job over at Fordham, and then Coach Cahill, who's actually a New York Mills guy my way. Kevin was a really good athlete. But he's in year 2 there. And then of course Bucknell. So when you look at the Patriot League, you look at the coaches and you look at top to bottom. I always say on any given day, whether you're the bottom tier or the top tier, you could lose on any Saturday, or now you guys are playing Friday nights too, I see.
Yeah, we got a couple. We got to open up on Friday night, but I think a lot of the league sometimes and I say this with a little tongue in cheek, but sometimes football is the easiest part of our league because of all the different things you got to manage. Trying to be as Division I as you can on an academic campus. So there's just there's some things that pop up, but no, I think. I mean, you're right. We got coaches that have been here for a while. I mean, Coach Cicchini, Coach Carlotta. I mean, they've been in the league for decades, and I've been around a while in the league as a whole, and see some great coaches. Like I said, come and stay and come and go. And Coach Cahill actually, Joe, I live 40 minutes from his family. He lives 40 minutes from my family down in PA. But he's an awesome coach. He's got a really good staff down there. So and then so for me, from a challenge standpoint, we've played. Last year's team played more teams with winning records than our last title team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that says a lot about where the league's at in any given Saturday. And, in a lot of ways the game's going too. Sometimes, obviously, people are going to win by running the ball and playing good defense. But the impact of we have, I think, better skill in our league right now. We've built our teams up to win nationally. A lot of it was, you got to build up the O-line and D-line. And control the line of scrimmage, which is always going to be true. And then you could do that. Like you could always grow people, but could you grow athleticism on the edges? But I think we're recruiting athleticism, as a league as a whole, in the skill positions that, that shows we can go, a lot of our teams are going to go, beat MAC teams, beat CAA teams, and, go up against the best Ivy League teams. And so I think that part's great. I'm obviously adding Richmond. Next year is a huge deal. I mean, they have the infrastructure to, be a national contender like they have been. And so I think, that's something that they obviously instantly made our league better, the minute they signed up. And so we're excited about that.
Coach, I know all the players, the kids nowadays. I mean, when I played and we played, we didn't have the social media stuff with Twitter and all these special handles. Now, the league picking you guys fourth, is that motivation for you guys, for the players? Do you guys pay attention to that stuff?
No, I mean, some of it makes sense. Some of it's, you'd want to, like that part of it's, um, only time I ever really used it was coming into the 21 season. We were picked last, which, that was something that was out of the norm for us. So that was kind of a good rallying cry. Like you could just take that and run with that one. It's pretty easy. Middle of the pack and any team's game, I think summarizes what the league is right now. Like you said, Coach Schrox did a great job last year, and they got a lot of good talent coming back. And Holy Cross has talent up and down that roster, and Coach Collins does a great job. So I could rattle off all the names like you just said, and I think we just there's so many like benchmarks or different things we got to get through to even talk about rankings in the Patriot League. I think that's not even just preseason, but obviously you got your initial out of conference and all that kind of stuff before you get into that kind of Patriot League playoff. Survive and advance mentality as they get going October and November.
Coach, the All Patriot League, I was looking to see who had who on the offense, defense. You had some offensive guys on that All Patriot League team. But so far through camp, who are there anybody on so far in the last week or so that's impressed you that we don't know the name, we haven't heard of, that we're going to be hearing a lot of come this fall?
I think right now, I mean, the names, I see you got in the bottom there, those guys have been good for us for a while. I think we got a really talented wide receiver room we're excited about. We got a talented running back room, we're excited about. And I think the one thing, as a program, we talk about, winning in the trenches and building up our offensive line room, whether it's just building up numbers and then building size and talent over the last couple of years. Hopefully we'll kind of pay its dividends, this year and the years after, because, we got some great leadership in that room. And we got some good young talent and some guys that have been thrown in the mix the last couple of years as freshmen, but now they've grown. So I think once that room has the potential to solidify a lot of things, and then once that does, then all the other pieces of the offense will fall into place.
And Coach, we talked a little bit about the past schedule. This year, you're set to open up next week. You got 3 night games, right? You go to Maine, Villanova at your place, and then you go to Akron, which is another Fordham guy who I know very well, Coach Moorhead.
Yeah.
But how exciting is it to play 3 night games to start the season?
It's there's pros and cons. Like the positive is you can watch College Game Day. You don't ever really get to do that, so you kind of have that somewhat. Even though you got your butterflies and your nerves and your mind's going about the game, you got somewhat of a normalcy of this is what's like to be watching TV on 1 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. So that's one of them. Obviously, you get the kids more rest and get them off their feet, but it changed your schedule. But I think the cool thing is like we'll do Villanova here. We haven't done a night game, I think maybe since 2011 or something like that. It's been a while. But when it gets night, when it gets dark and you're under the lights, there's just something about playing football under the lights that obviously the guys do it in high school, and it's just a little different energy and different atmosphere and environment. So we're excited about it. I mean, preparation wise, like you could, obviously, your schedule, you could be intentional about practicing at night to kind of get them feel for that. But it's more so those couple days leading up to it. Like I'd rather go like 2 years ago we did at Stanford. I think it was at night out there. So you had the time zone, you had the time change, and you had the night and everything. That was a tricky one. But the flip side of that, if you're traveling after a night game, that's trying to get home at a decent hour so you can be on a normal schedule for the next week. But playing on Friday night in May will be good. So we'll get home, early Saturday morning, but kind of you got a couple days there to get yourself situated before another game week.
Coach, you mentioned your dad. I know your dad was a Hall of Fame coach at Marion Catholic, I believe, right down in PA. And my dad coached high school football for, I think 35 years here locally. So I grew up with a dad for a coach, and my dad's always been hard on me. What was it like for you growing up with a dad that was a football coach?
It was awesome. I actually have the yellow helmet in the middle there. That's Marion Catholic's helmet. Can't really see it, but I mean, he challenged me. I mean, we used to joke, if you're gonna go to a Marion practice and ask which one the coach's kid was. They just point to the one getting yelled at the most, But I wouldn't change that for anything. Now his obviously growing up when your dad's the coach, dad's in the household, like that's a pretty special deal. And we had some success, so that made it all that much better. And those memories you got, but over time as a coach, then you got someone to go to that's been there and done that. Football's football, X's and O's. Everyone's got their stuff. He has his systems. He had his defenses. I like our defenses. Like, so it's not like but when the technique comes to it, and there's certain ways to tackle and block and leverage, like football's football, right? And then off the field stuff, just him coaching as long as he did, and just coming across situations and different circumstances, decisions, player stuff, coach stuff, that he's worked through and dealt with, and so to kind of have that as a sounding board, and so I have him around this year, just for his eyes and perspective, and just general. I kind of joked like he'll be named as senior analyst / evaluator of head coach. That's gonna be his role. So.
When I was fortunate when I took my first head coaching job at Sequoia High School here in the Mohawk Valley. My dad was one of my assistants. He had retired from being a head coach, and I'll never forget there was one game we were on the headset together, and it was a 4th-and-1 call. I called timeout, and I said, "Dad, what do we got?" And he goes, "You're the head coach. You make the call."
Yeah.
And I still call my dad after practices and say, "Hey, Dad, what do you think?" And so once a coach, always a coach, right?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And it's like last year was his last year at our high school. And he was playing in a district in Pennsylvania, what New York calls section champ. We call him district in Pennsylvania. So he's playing for the district championship. And it was Friday night before a Lehigh game. And I was like debating all week because he was going into it like it was great that he got the team there, probably an underdog in the game. So I'm like, this could be his last game. Like, we knew as a family this was his last year. So after our walkthrough Friday, I got 3 wonderful kids, and 2 of them they said they wanted to go. So my wife brought him to our walkthrough and threw him in a car after the walkthrough, drove down and watched his game. And actually, as they were, the other team was pretty much going to go into their victory or into the game stuff, I ran up and I got on the headsets and I was like, I just want to, I said, "Dad," and he didn't know I was there, so I was kind of confused. It's funny, but I just, I said, "I love you," and he didn't, kind of processed it. And then as he was walking off the field, after the trophy ceremony, he's walking off his team, so his family got to be there when he walked off. And
that's awesome.
And then we drove back up 3 hours that night, and that was full range Lehigh going through my head. And then the next morning at breakfast, to be honest with you, like all the players coming up and asking me, how the night went, how the game went. Like, there wasn't a chance of me getting through my pregame talk because it was a pretty. It just showed me the power of football. Those big moments and stuff like that, which the game gives us, which is pretty special.
Coach, I just want to go back real quick. I want to go back to the COVID years and where we're at now, and obviously it looks like college football, and let's say sports in general, looks like everything is back. Would you agree with that? You think we're back up full speed and running?
Yeah, no, I do. I think there's from a just general like COVID standpoint, these 5th years now, that's the last cycle that they could use their COVID years. So I think when you're starting to deal with kids that have been a full 4 years in high school, that had that experience, and obviously none of that stuff that they have to experience while they're in college. So I think it is. I mean, we do like this. I know this is probably normal, like beforehand with Zooms or streaming online stuff, like that part's become more normalized. It's kind of inserted in some recruiting. It's inserted different ways, but like other than that, it's we're full steam ahead. And when kids get sick, the proper protocols are taken, and people move on, and it's kind of one of those be mindful of stuff as we go, but it's even like last year's graduating class from Colgate, they were freshmen, I believe, when it all, kind of shut down. And that graduation weekend this past May, and it could have been like that the year before, but I just happened to see it this past year of like their emotion leaving the place, their understanding that like they only had X amount of weeks before graduation, like them being like so engulfed in the culture here and the community here and the brotherhood here and the friendship here was like all the stuff I believe in about this place. I saw it last graduation weekend. I saw the emotion. I saw the tears. And I'm like, okay, it's here. Like if it ever left because of COVID, maybe it did, but like it's still here. So that was kind of my, they had that Colgate experience, and because they had those 3 full years of this place. So that from when I saw that, then I kind of went, all right, we're back in a lot of ways.
Coach, last thing I wanted to ask you, for you guys this year to be in the thick of things late in the season, and I know I'll talk to you throughout the season, and we'll get into some more stuff as the season goes. What do you guys have to do from an offensive standpoint, and then defensively, what's it gonna take for you guys up front to contend late in the year?
Yeah, I think offensively, like we're excited about this team, and but we've also been humbled over the last couple of years, right? So we know that winning is obtainable. We've done it. Like I said, we got over that hump. A lot of our mindset is to finish, this year, and in a lot of ways of, we got over the hump. We pulled some games out last year, like. I aged a lot last year from some of how close some of the games were and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, what's next? Let's finish out games more. Let's finish out, end of the game drives more, 2-minute or 4-minute stuff like that. So a lot of that is, we showed good situational football last year of pulling games out. Now it's a matter of, taking the next step and closing out. And that's going to be like, and the offense knows this, like we got weapons that can go, but like, we're going to win when we run the football consistently. And I think that's all that always wins games up here in October and November. And, so that's going to be there. And, Coach Baxter, offense coordinator, does an awesome job with the scheme and everything he's built up over the last couple of years of what our identity is on offense. And, whether we have the fastest guys on the field or the guys that can take it one play 80 yards or guys that are 4 yards in a cloud of dust, like you love to have everything in between. Right. But it's also like the identity of, when it comes time and later in the year when we got to run the ball, the defense knows we're running the ball. Let's go out and do it, right? And I think that part's going to be a big stepping stone of the program if we get that done. And then defensively, a lot of it's going to be. I know this is coach talk here, but obviously stopping the run is going to be huge. But I mean, even then, while you talk stop and run right now, like RPO stuff, the quick throws, the bubbles, the stick routes, the hitches, like those are extensions of run games. So we have to be really efficient against that stuff when people start spreading the field on us. Because like I said, our league has recruited really good skill over the last couple of years. So there's going to be challenges in space. So it's the slowing offenses down enough to where we have control of the game defensively, and I think that's obviously pressuring the quarterback, stop and run, all that stuff's there. But I think it came down to it last year. We made enough plays in space, whether it was tackles in space or plays on passes in space like that, where we step up and made those, because that's a lot of offenses force you to do, make plays in space. So I think we got a good mix on defense of guys that have been on a block, but also some young guys that got to step up, and young guys that were thrown in the mix last year. So they got some game experience under their belt, but like there's still going to be those, that growth and that experience has got to happen. So Coach Belfiore does a good job of developing those young guys, and a great job with the scheme. And the other thing too, like special teams wise, like our punter, we feel like our punter is the best in the country. And I say I hate to punt, but I love to watch him punt. He's pretty special there, and we got some kickers with strong legs. So, if we have the guys, weapon wise and stuff like that, like let's also have it show up in special teams. And because Coach Eisen has always done great, and it's been a matter of like you can go two ways on special teams. You can be status quo and not, and do your job and run off and not do a negative, or you could, which at the end of the day is probably positive, right? You're not making negative impact, but like, how about making those impact plays and stuff like that? So it's going to come down with where our league's at, how deep it is. It's I think over the years probably could pinpoint teams in the league that won because one side of the ball was dominant. But right now I think you gotta put it all together in this league right now to get it done. So.
Well, Coach, the next time you and I chat, I'm looking forward to talking to you throughout the fall as many times as we can. I will have my Colgate hoodie on. I am going to have that on for you. My Fordham guys are going to give me a lot of grief, but I don't care. It's all good. But I'm hoping I can bring my son to the Villanova game. That night game. But good luck at Maine, and I look forward to talking to you throughout the fall.
Appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll lose my camp voice by then and have a more normal voice for you. But I appreciate it. Like I said, you do a lot of great things for our league. So appreciate it very much.
Well, I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you, and good luck to you.
Yeah, take care.
All righty, Coach. So that was Colgate head football coach Stan Dakosty. Coach and I are going to be getting together throughout the fall, talking nothing but Colgate football. We'll jump around the Patriot League a little bit. I'll try to keep them about a half hour or so, but they got a really tough non-conference schedule. They got a lot of guys back. I picked them third in the Patriot League. I have Lafayette, Fordham, Colgate, but you can interchange Fordham and Colgate because I think they're both going to be really good. But I think the league's going to be really good again this year. I don't know if it'll be a two-team bid for the playoffs, but we'll see how they finish. We'll see how the Patriot League ends up. But again, what I want to make sure that I thank the sponsors for the show. And if you're looking at sponsoring any of the shows throughout the fall, please just shoot me a message. I do have some packages, but if you can't do any of the packages, anything will help. I want to thank Good Nature Brewing Company on 1727 New York Route 12B out in Hamilton. I also want to make sure I thank the Med Spot, Aesthetics, Wellness, and Weight Loss on 110 West Thomas Street in Rome. Special thanks to Corey Corbin for jumping up and helping sponsor the shows throughout the fall. And then I also want to make sure that I thank and get my screen to change. Martha's on Madison Street, 3 Madison Street in Hamilton. I want to thank them. And then I want to thank the Colgate Inn on 1 Payne Street in Hamilton as well. So on behalf of the Rock Pile, on behalf of myself, I want to make sure I thank Coach Dakosty and Colgate football. Have a good evening, everybody. And the Rock Pile is